The stealth bomber B-2 Spirit completely changed how we think about air dominance. It was so far ahead of the curve that on any of its missions, it was never even seen or targeted by an enemy weapon system. What made this aircraft so innovative and powerful? Why was it so far ahead of its time? How did this aircraft, which can carry a payload powerful enough to destroy the majority of countries and is virtually undetectable on radar, suddenly appear? We uncover what made the B-2 bomber so far ahead of its time, from top-secret research to classified materials. Hello everyone. This is AWZ. Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy. Actually, the B-2's origins can be found in Nazi Germany. The idea for the flying wing, which gives the B-2 its almost alien form, was already in the minds of the Horten brothers. The Horten 229 was able to fly at 500 miles per hour, which was much faster than any other aircraft used in World War II. Hermann Göring, the head of the Luftwaffe, demanded a light bomber to help balance the expanding fuel needs of a multi-front war. Early in 1945, testing was almost finished, but because the war had shifted decisively against Germany, they were never able to field the aircraft. While the Horten brothers made important advancements in the development of flying wings, an American by the name of Jack Northrop was also making progress. Northrop was certain that he could succeed in building the perfect bomber after the war, where the Germans had failed. Many of the flying wing aircraft secrets crossed the Atlantic with the start of Operation Paperclip, an American endeavor to seize all of the advanced technology assets from the overthrown Nazi regime. Northrop persisted in working toward the creation of his flying wing aircraft until the YB-49, which was his first significant and successful prototype. The YB-49 had a ceiling of 40,000 feet and a top speed of 500 miles per hour. But Northrop's hopes would suffer a serious blow when the US government decided to destroy every aircraft because it was so difficult to manage the plane and it was so unstable in flight. However, the Soviet Union was collecting ever more advanced weapons, particularly air defense missiles, and this decision would come back to haunt them. The American military required a bomber that could enter Soviet airspace without endangering itself against Soviet air defenses. In order to activate fighter jets and anti-aircraft missile batteries, air defense systems rely on a variety of radars that can identify approaching adversarial aircraft. The U.S. relied on its fleet of B-52 Stratofortress aircraft for the majority of the Cold War. Although a very capable bomber on its own, the Soviet Union was developing ground-to-air missiles that could reach ever higher altitudes, making the B-52 more and more susceptible to attack. An aircraft is recognized by these air defense systems based on its radar signature. A specific object's feedback to a radar display as a result of its radar cross-section is known as a radar signature. Comparing typical airplanes to other atmospheric objects like birds, the typical aircraft have a huge radar cross-section. Due to its size, the B-52 has a significant radar cross-section. The senior brass in the American military desired a solution as soon as possible. In order to create bombers that could infiltrate hostile airspace undetected, there was a resurgence of interest in the 1970s, and DARPA asked the greatest American aerospace companies to submit their best proposals. Having recently created the very complicated and sophisticated State Route 71, which featured a lot of stealthy features, Lockheed Martin had an advantage in this situation. Lockheed received a modest contract to investigate this subject further and created the Hopeless Diamond model as an initial prototype. This prototype would eventually be turned into the F-117, a stealth aircraft that we are all familiar with today. Although the F-117 is regarded as a stealth aircraft, some of its qualities, including the hard, angular exterior paneling, would subsequently be modified. The intricate sloped surfaces visible on the B-2 could not have been produced at the time due to inadequate computer modeling technology. These covert programs produced a technology that served as the foundation for the B-2 Spirit. stealth technology was at the top of the list of advanced military weapons being developed when Ronald Reagan was elected president. The Advanced Technology Bomber (ATP) program, which had started in 1979 under the Carter administration, was intensified and given a significantly bigger budget. One of the greatest airplanes ever made was on the way thanks to Northrop's flying wing design and Lockheed and DARPA's advancements in stealth technology. All the main domestic aircraft producers were invited to make bids for the development of a next-generation bomber that could avoid enemy radar detection, as the U.S. government did. Many of these companies were unable to create an adequate prototype for this technology since it did not yet exist in its complete form. Ironically, Northrop was chosen almost 30 years after the government ordered the destruction of their plane. Under the Black program, work on the aircraft's design got underway in the strictest of secrecy. The personnel had routine polygraph examinations and were almost never in uniform. The majority of Congress was not allowed to know what was being funded by how much money. This was done to prevent the Soviets from learning more about what was happening by looking through American budgeting documents and technical publications. The time was running out since they needed to develop this swiftly before too many people began to inquire about the secret program's rising costs. A former Ford auto assembly plant in Pico Rivera, California, was purchased for the manufacturing and extensively refurbished. The workers at the plant were pledged to strict confidentiality regarding their work. Components were often purchased through front firms, and military officers would visit while not in uniform to reduce the likelihood of suspicion. Up until the middle of the 1980s, access to almost all program information was severely restricted for both the Government Accountability Office, GAO, and nearly all members of Congress. The B-2's primary contractor was Northrop, while its principal subcontractors were Boeing, Hughes Aircraft, GE, and Vought Aircraft. Thomas Cavanaugh, a worker at this company, was apprehended and given a life sentence for trying to sell the Soviets on top-secret information about the program. The government's request was straightforward: create a bomber that is impervious to radar detection. Many people believed it to be simply impossible, but the effort to do so was anything but. To build a supercomputer capable of producing the 3D models required to work on the design, Northrop had to purchase and assemble some of the world's fastest and most effective computer technology. To run these models, they also had to develop a groundbreaking piece of software. The program's mystery was all the rage in the media, and various rumors about what was happening inside Northrop's doors started to spread. On November 22, 1988, they at last received a response. This new aircraft's unusual, almost alien-looking design astounded everyone. The plane astonished military officials both at home and abroad. The airplane paneling's sloping structure gives it the appearance of changing shape when viewed from different directions. The result is that radar beams scatter off into the atmosphere or return in very small numbers, giving the bomber a radar cross-section similar to that of a bird. General Larry Welch, a former chief of staff of the Air Force, even asserted that the plane's radar cross-section was comparable to that of an insect. Additionally, the aircraft is covered in RAM, or radar-absorbent materials, which are highly classified but are known to contain a composite material made of carbon and graphite. The bomber also has cutting-edge electronic warfare countermeasures that can destroy an enemy radar installation. The B-2 was nearly invisible to heat-seeking missiles that might be fortunate enough to be thrown at it once it is spotted due to its engines being integrated inside the aircraft paneling and an innovative exhaust system that mixes the hot gas with the cold air in the environment. The B-2's loadout was also incredible. Up to 40,000 pounds of explosives, including up to 16 nuclear warheads, were initially loaded onto the ship. The B-2 sparked dread all across the world with its capacity to get past any air defense systems and a payload powerful enough to destroy over a dozen major cities or military installations. Its necessity was ultimately questioned because the B-2 was released just a few years before the Soviet Union crumbled. This is all for today. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe our channel. Stay tuned with AWZ.